Is the Canon 5D Mark IV the best camera for still images in 2025? Let's find out. My name is Andrew and this is Parts in Tech, where we review some of the world's most popular electronics, tools, and appliances. Today we're talking about the Canon 5D Mark IV. We're talking about who it's for, who it's not for, what it's good for. Is it good for aviation? Is it good for portraits? What is it good for? Is it good for video? Is it good for stills? Some of its pros and even some of the cons and some of its downfalls. Let's start off with build quality. Build quality on this camera is incredible. It is a very, very sturdy camera, as you can see. It's built to Canon specs. Like they're really bulletproof. They're very solid cameras. They work very, very well. They're wind resistant, dust resistant, weather resistant, not necessarily waterproof. I would not take this on a log flume or maybe even a rainstorm, into a rainstorm or anything like that, but it's a very good camera. It's durable. So some of the specs on this camera: this is a 30.4 full frame CMOS sensor. This camera has an ISO range of 100 to 32,000, expandable all the way up to 102,400. This camera is going to work for any light situation that you have. With this camera's autofocus system, you're going to be getting smooth autofocus for photo, video, anything that you are doing. The autofocus on this, the technology inside of this for autofocus is incredible. It also has continuous shooting up to 7 frames per second. With the Digic 6 Plus image processor, you're going to be getting extremely high responsiveness from this camera, smooth, great image quality from this processor. It also has Wi-Fi and Bluetooth capabilities. With a magnesium alloy body, this camera is built incredibly strong. So who is this camera for? Is this camera for the beginner? Is this camera for the wedding photographer? Is this camera maybe for the aviation, wildlife, landscape? Who is this camera for? And really, if you're taking photos, this camera is an incredible camera. Not to say that it's not a good video camera. It has very good video capabilities. But I would say, personally, I've shot a lot of weddings, and personally, this camera is very good for weddings. I've used this camera multiple times on multiple different weddings, and it's a very good wedding photography camera. It's a very good aviation photography camera. It's a very good landscape photography camera. It's a very good photography camera. You can absolutely shoot video with this, but it's more geared towards the photographer. With that being said, if you're a professional, if you're using this camera to make money, maybe you are a wedding photographer, maybe you are an aviation photographer, maybe you are a product photographer, maybe you are something, anything along those lines, if you're a professional, this is gonna be a great photo camera for you. If you're a beginner, there's a lot of other great options that aren't nearly in this price range that you can go after and still get incredible image quality. Now, this camera does take EF mount lenses, which is not necessarily something that Canon's not making anymore. They still do produce them, but they are really moving to their RF mount cameras. They're mirrorless cameras, and that's kind of the newer technology. So there's a lot of people who want a physical mirror inside of your camera, and that's okay, and they still make lenses for it, and there's no problem with that at all. But the technology is truly going towards the RF cameras. They're a lot lighter, they're a lot smaller, they're very ergonomical, they are great, very fast, very high-tech cameras, and they do a phenomenal job. I would highly recommend them. But if you're looking for a camera that has a mirror and that does a great job at photos, this is the camera that I would absolutely recommend.